Good day, everyone. This is Pineleaf Needles, and welcome to DDO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in DDO and at the tabletop. And please welcome my co-host from Ravenloft, Dracula.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Hello, Drac. And everyone also please welcome our special guest for tonight, the Players Alliance lead director, Andang.
Hey, everybody.
Hello, Andang. And tonight, we are going to lead off with a little bit of news that affects both the DDO and LOTRO, and that is that the DDO and LOTRO teams have left Turbine and Warner Brothers to form a new studio, Standing Stone Games, and fortunately for us, they are taking the games with them.
So this is LOTRO and DDO's response to Brexit, I guess?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Successful.
Yep. And hang on one second. Breaking news again on the show.
What?
I am going to bring Patrick from DDOCast on as well.
Ooh.
So we're just going to have a bunch of people to talk about this big news because this is pretty big news for both of our games. So welcome to the show, Patrick.
Hello.
Hello, Patrick. And I presume you've heard what we're discussing right now?
Well, I'm assuming there's only one thing to discuss.
And that is the Oakland Raiders are in the playoffs for the first time in 14 years, right? That is what we're here to discuss tonight.
That shows you that I haven't been watching that game.
Poor Piley. Yes, of course. We are talking about the news that just kind of dropped today that I don't think I can honestly say that anybody saw this coming. But as Pineleaf said, Turbine and WB and DDO and LOTRO have parted ways. The studio that was formerly Turbine, the LOTRO and DDO side, have formed a new studio called Standing Stone Games. They are going to be an independent studio. They will be published by Daybreak Games, which we will talk about in a moment. But as of right now, they are going to be an independent studio. And Sabirlin posted over on the forums. He says, "Greetings. Today we have momentous news. The game teams responsible for the Lord of the Rings Online LOTRO and Dungeons & Dragons Online DDO are now moving away from Turbine to Standing Stone Games. This is a newly formed independent game studio. In addition, we partners with Daybreak Games to provide global publishing services. They've had a long, successful history developing and publishing MMOs, and we're happy to learn on their expertise. With the announcement out of the way, I wanted to talk to you about what this means. We're embarking on an exciting adventure as Standing Stone Games, newly independent studio staffed by people who have been working on DDO and LOTRO for many years. The teams remain very much committed to both games and are thrilled to continue development and operations of these games as an independent studio. This is go ahead.
In other words, no longer being fired by the people at Warner.
Yes, that's right. No longer under the Warner Brothers corporate overlords. This is an opportunity for us to bring about our dreams while still working on two of the biggest licenses in video games. It's a huge honor, and for you, this means your games will continue to grow and improve. We love to focus on games with a high level of depth and scope, and we can't wait to show you what the future brings. Although a great many exciting things are happening on our end, you'll be able to continue playing the games you enjoy with little interruption as possible. Our development continues on track, and the plans we have already announced remain firmly in our future view. Again, although we are a new studio, we are also the same developers who have been and will continue to work on our games. Our success has always been possible because of your support. As we move forward, this is more important than ever. The ultimate goal of the new studio is to continue to bring you an amazing experience. We are excited for the future, and we are thrilled to have you with us on this journey. Here's to great games, epic adventures, and memorable times with friends."
Whee!
So, what do we think?
Well, I think this has caused... It is a little different.
Yeah.
I think this has caused a lot more questions, obviously. First of all, are they still going to be in Massachusetts? According to their Standing Stone Games Twitter, it's at Standing Stone MA, which I assume stands for Massachusetts. So
Yes, and
I'm guessing that they're still staying in Massachusetts.
And I looked on the
next question then
website, and it looked like that was the case too. So yes.
Right. Yeah. The next question then is, do they have money? How much money do they have? And how long have they had to accumulate said money in order to have like some kind of a nest egg to be breaking free from Warner Brothers and starting their own game studio? That sounds like an expensive undertaking. So
you were going to say something, Patrick, I think.
Oh no, I was just starting with that's different. That was the sum total of that thought.
It's like, yeah, it's some news. That's different.
I mean, I'm actually still reading. Like, I got home 10 minutes ago, took a shower, and I'm reading the information while we're talking about it. I just figured that you would offered a veteran DDO player's point of view from it.
Go ahead.
I think the big question on the table is, what does this mean? Right? Like, okay, sure, your gameplay experience is going to stay the same. We're not planning on changing any of our plans any more than we usually do. Okay, sure, that's all the stuff that you would normally expect. But the initial reaction is, okay, so why are they leaving? What does that practically mean in terms of, well, okay, they're probably going to have a lot more freedom to do things that they want to do. They're not going to have the WB overlords, shall we say, kind of driving the bottom line as kind of an end goal. So there's more creativity there. But of course, there's also more risk, right? Because there's not deep pockets behind them.
Right. They don't have WB behind them. Exactly.
Right. So if, say, not to drudge up poor subjects for what was Turbine, if Infinite Crisis happened 6 months from now, that's something that could close a studio, an independent studio, right?
Right. And you kind of got to wonder, too. They did say that Daybreak Games, which, if you're not familiar with, I'm sure everybody knows what Daybreak Games is, but it was formerly Sony Online Entertainment, and then Sony spun off Daybreak, and then Daybreak was bought by an investment company, and they run some pretty big games. They run DC Universe Online, EverQuest 1 and 2, the H1Z1 Zombie Apocalypse game. I'm trying to think. There's like 3 or 4 other titles they run. So they know MMOs, and I think they have some money as well. But they are just going to be the publishing arm of this. So what exactly does that mean? From what I gathered, they're going to handle customer service, and they're going to make sure that the game is like available on Steam and place like that. But how much of a say are they going to have in all this, too, would be the other question that I have on this.
I would assume not very much.
Yeah, that's kind of what I gathered.
Less than WB.
Yeah, so, which the whole Daybreak thing to me is a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing where, I mean, look at EverQuest 1 and EverQuest 2, how long they've been around. So they pretty much know what they're doing. But Daybreak has done some really dumb things recently with some of their games. So, and that's to put it nicely. So, that's where I'm wanting to know, okay, how much say are they going to have in it? Since they're just the publisher, are they just going to be kind of in the background and just there for support? Or are they going to have some say? And are we going to get, like, I know one of the big things right now in a lot of the Daybreak games is they have, like, a ton of lockboxes now. And that's, like, Daybreak's thing is they add lockboxes to all their games.
Lockboxes?
So does that mean we're going to get, like, lockboxes in all of our games
You should
now?
probably explain what those are.
Yeah, it's what a lockbox is it's LOTRO has them already, but LOTRO kind of does them different. They are a box that will drop in your game. And most games, other than LOTRO does actually drop keys. But most games, you have to buy the key from the store with real money to open your lockbox. That is the only way you can open the lockbox to see what's in it. And of course, they put all the good stuff in the lockboxes, so everybody buys the keys to get the lockboxes. Well, that's how they make their money. And Daybreak here lately has become famous for some of the, shall we say, less than scrupulous things they have done to put lockboxes in some of their games. So that was my first fear, was like, oh my God, we're going to have like lockboxes everywhere now. I hope not.
I hope not, yeah.
But that's just one of those things because they don't really make that clear. But they did actually post a fact then to kind of answer some of the questions that we have, but it left a lot of other questions unanswered. But basically, they said, what does this mean? It's business as usual for both LOTRO and DDO's operations and development. Both games will continue along their respective development paths and bring you the content you enjoy. So then the question...
Which is what everyone would be expecting. I mean...
Right. Okay. So then it's like, okay, so what's happening to Turbine? Turbine will no longer be involved in the development of LOTRO and our DDO. They will continue on developing their products. So
which makes some sense, right? Because Turbine a while back made more of a push to be a mobile studio.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. When that trying to think, that was like May, maybe when that, and that was when that.
I feel like it was even longer than that, wasn't it?
Last round of layoffs was. I can't remember.
Exactly. Something like that.
Yeah. Then they announced the whole move to the mobile studio. So okay. So then they say, what about my account? Your account login information will remain the same. You'll keep all your purchases, including your Turbine points, VIP subscription time, lifetime memberships for LOTRO.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, I'm happy about that. And things you picked up through the in-game store. So then the question was brought up, are there plans to change the cost of VIP? They say, we are always looking for additional ways to offer the best value to our VIP players. The cost and value of the VIP program remains unchanged. Though it is possible we may offer additional benefits or tier subscriptions in the future. Exactly. And that made me think, okay, so Daybreak Games has what they call their all-in-one pass, where you pay one amount of money and you can play all of their games.
How awesome would that be to have that for LOTRO, DDO, and the rest of Daybreak Games stuff?
Exactly.
Do you know how much that is?
I do not know. Let me look that up real quick and see. But so I'm thinking, okay, so are we going to get like all-in-one VIP for LOTRO and DDO? And then or will there be another tier, like you said, that'll include the Daybreak Games? So yeah, we'll see. Let me see if I can find out how much that is.
It would be interesting because they'd be their own studio. It would be interesting if they gave a discount for subscribing to both games.
Yeah,
and presumably, I assume that they're going to develop more games. There was a question.
They need to be stable first.
Well, there's that. But you can't. I mean, I don't see a startup gaming studio really surviving just on 2 games that are 10 years old.
Well, there is that.
It's true. Okay, I do have the answer. The Daybreak All Access is $14.99 a month, or you get 3 months for $12.99, 6 months for $11.99, or 12 months for $9.99.
Which is less than the cost of both LOTRO and DDO.
That gives you the premium benefits and all of the participating Daybreak games, 10% off unlimited marketplace purchases, and you get 500 Daybreak cash a month. So that begs the question, are we going to see that for LOTRO and DDO? That would be awesome.
That would be, yeah.
Not saying.
Yeah, but you got to remember I suspect that VIP is a larger portion of the income. If you cut off the VIP income, then you get the boxes.
Well, I think probably what happens here is the Daybreak folks, the people that are already doing the Daybreak thing, are the ones that have an issue with it in the sense that either their cost will go up to account for LOTRO and DDO coming in.
Right.
Right. That's kind of what I would assume would happen because otherwise, I don't know.
Then, of course, the other question was, what's going to happen to our Turbine points? Well, the Turbine point total is going to remain intact, but the name of the points will change. They are now either DDO points or LOTRO points.
Well, it makes sense considering there are 2 different pools already.
True.
Are they 2 different pools?
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm assuming they still are. I didn't actually log into either game to see if it's like, hey, I have, as much in this game as I had in DDO now. So, but yeah, so I guess that makes sense because they were Turbine points before, so that kind of makes sense. And I know Pineleaf said he logged into LOTRO and he noticed that the coin actually doesn't have the little Turbine fan on it anymore. Now it has a standing stone,
right?
Which then again makes sense. And then
there's something we have to talk about with this though that's going to be very sad because you're not going to be able to say that you need more TP anymore.
That's right. That was always the best joke. Man, I'm out of TP again.
Okay. So now you're out of
Never a good
DT?
thing when you're out of TP.
Oh, I really want to do the Beavis TP from my bunghole joke right now, but I won't. Then they're going to say, is this going to require any downtime or impact to my ability to log in? We encourage players to keep an eye on our social media feeds and forums, as there may be some periods of downtime while we do technical and other work in the coming weeks. Our plan is, of course, to minimize the amount of downtime to the least possible.
Well,
Translation,
that's
we
difficult.
don't know yet.
Yeah. Translation, it's probably going to happen, so bear with us. And then, are the servers going to be changing? No, we'll continue to operate out of the existing data center, and there are no plans to change servers in any way. So,
Which is good considering they just changed.
Yeah,
And that
exactly.
didn't go so well.
That would.
There
What
were
was
some
that?
issues there.
I didn't quite catch that.
I said there were some issues there with the server transfers.
Yeah, there was, but I haven't heard anybody talk about that too much. So I wonder if most of those issues got straightened out.
They have. It was just kind of an initial period of time.
Always.
And then, of course, I think the big question that everybody had was, what does this mean for the licensing of Dungeons and Dragons and the Lord of the Rings IPs? And their answer was, we have updated our licensing agreements without issue and will continue that relationship.
Thank you for not saying the date when LOTRO's license ends again. Thank you so much. Because that has been the biggest issue of controversy ever in like the history of MMOs, I'm pretty sure. And so it's really nice that they didn't say that, so that hopefully they'll never say it and it'll not be an issue like, oh, well, LOTRO is going to end in 2 years or whatever, and hopefully they can just like have this ominous, well, LOTRO might end eventually, but no firm date. That would be nice.
Jerry was on, I can't remember I think he was on DDOCast, but I can't remember if it was on DDOCast or DDO Players talking about licensing and stuff, where it's actually basically what he said was it's a very normal part of these businesses. It's in both parties' best interest to get a deal done because both parties are making money off of it. So it's really rare that that doesn't get renewed even when it has an end date. The reason why you have an end date is because you need to come back to the table periodically and say, hey, how are things working? Which direction are you guys going in? Which direction are you guys going in? Are we going in the same direction? How do we what are the things we need to work out with this? Or like, oh wow, suddenly your game that we're giving our license to got like 5 times more popular. Hey, you should pay us a little bit more now. I mean, this is all like really standard common practice in negotiations and licensing.
Speaking of rare things, has there ever been a case where a game company has basically left a major studio and formed a totally new company and kept the games that they were working on with them?
Let's see.
Not that I can think
Probably
of.
Probably not as big as this.
Yeah. The closest thing I can think of is when Steve Jackson Games left a metric game and took Ogre with him. But he did not take the RPG that he wrote with him, but he did keep the rights to Ogre when he did that. And that was like one of his top-line games that he had at the time.
But especially within the MMO space, I feel like this might be a first.
And you got to think too. These are two, I would say, LOTRO or Lord of the Rings and Dungeons and Dragons are probably two of the biggest IPs that you can get.
Yeah.
So that's why I think this is kind of a major deal than just like if Game X would move. Like I'm trying to think of another example, and I can't even think of another example of like if somebody did this to another game. I can't think of anything good off the top of my head. So I guess we'll see what happens. But
another question I have is, will we see a lot more marketing now that they're not under WB? Because before they went to WB, they had a lot of marketing for their game, and then it kind of went away for both. So will Daybreak be marketing? That's another thing we'll have to look out for.
Yeah,
how much marketing does Daybreak currently do for their games?
A ton.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think the other part with that you might see with that is conventions. Because for the last several years, it's been Turbine isn't sending someone there. It's going to be part of the WB booth.
In the last few
which
years,
is kind of
there
a
hasn't
byproduct.
been a WB booth in many of them in the last few years.
Well, I mean, look, in the grand scheme of things, too, it's probably a little weird to have I mean, if we see Standing Stone Games at a convention,
Yeah.
one would presume that they're going to be there to market a new product, not to market two 10-year-old games. Because that's not really what you do at those conventions. I mean, you can have them there and showcase them, that's sure. And certainly, like, you figure, okay, Standing Stone Games, the first, presuming that they make a new game, which I would assume they would, because that would make sense for that kind of business model. You're going to see, okay, they might have a booth at PAX, maybe just PAX East, but they're only going to have that one game, and they'll have booth space, so you'll probably see LOTRO and DDO have a little bit more of a feature in the sense, even if they're kind of a background product, like, oh, hey, yeah, you can see these other two games that we have as well. There'll be more space for that to happen.
Oh,
well, and also keep in mind that both LOTRO and DDO might have expansions, and especially with a Mordor expansion, that might warrant convention coverage.
yeah.
Sure.
All
yeah.
right. Oh,
And
I have a question then. What about Asherton's Call?
You know, they didn't say anything about Asheron's Call, and I sent an email to both WB and Turbine's press department today, and I have not heard back from them as of when we're recording right now.
It was asked in the post, but there's no answer there.
Yeah, they're not saying anything about it, so I don't know. Yeah, we have no idea what's the deal with Asheron's Call, because that was the only other Turbine property, basically. So
if I had to guess, I would say, or let me rephrase that. I would not be surprised if Asheron's Call went to Standing Stone Games, just from the standpoint that Severlin's the producer,
right.
Jerry's the community manager.
Yeah, so I'm guessing it kind of went with them, but it's just weird that wasn't included. And I did see on both the LOTRO forums and the DDO forums that question was asked several times, and like Patrick said, it was never answered. So, like I said, I reached out to my PR contacts at both, have not heard back. So as soon as I find out, I will make sure to put a post up or something. But as of right now, yeah, we have no idea. But, you know, Asheron's Call is kind of a different beast anyway, because it's in, like, permanent maintenance mode right now.
Right.
It's, you pay like $10 to buy the game.
But the question is,
and then you can just play.
Could this change actually move it out of maintenance mode, maybe even?
I guess it could, in theory, if they, you know, feel like they have enough resources to where they could put some more people on it, or maybe hire some more people or something. I don't know. Yeah. See, this news was exciting, and it's like great for both games. But then again, there's so, like we said at the top of the show, there's so many questions that are left with this,
right?
That we're like, oh, I want answers to this, and right
it's
now
like,
they're not talking. You know, so
it's like all of a sudden everything's back on the table as far as possibilities, and that's really exciting and also kind of scary.
Well, also back on the table is the end, right? So I think Asheron's Call only comes out of maintenance mode if they find a way to make money off of it.
Well, yeah, there is that little detail.
I mean, if they're not going to make money off it, why put more effort into it? But
so I guess we'll see. And then
the other thing with Asheron's Call, why it's leaving, is I think I don't know that anyone's ever going to come out and say it, but it seems like there's a distinct possibility that the reason why this separation is something that is going to happen, is something that can happen, is because Turbine made this move to say, okay, we're going to move towards being a mobile game studio. We're going to make mobile games. And it might have been one of those things where Turbine was looking at like, okay, well, all the new people we're hiring for mobile games. So we're not hiring new people for MMOs. And, you know, maybe Turbine just is to the point where, you know, we're not going to keep this going. And all of the people who've been working on LOTRO and DDO said, well, we'd like jobs and we like this game, and we know people like this game. Can we start a new studio and have these games? Turbine probably was like, well, sure. Right. Now, that's all hypothetical, but that doesn't seem that far-fetched of how that conversation may have gone.
Right. And so, you know, there's the very real possibility that this could have actually prevented the end of LOTRO and DDO. Or it's possible that this was just something they decided to do. Or maybe they approached Warner Brothers and said, hey, we had this idea, we might want to go make our independent game studio. And Warner Brothers is like, well, we're not making that much money from this anyway. So they went ahead and let them go. So it all depends on, who initiated this and how all that talk went. But I find it interesting that this kind of lined up with the LOTRO license renewal time. So
I think it was a.
Well,
I
they're
think it was
talking
probably
to those
an
lawyers
observation.
anyway.
Right.
I don't
And then
think you can have something like this happen without it being a maybe one side had the idea, presumably Standing Stone Games side, but I think both sides were fine with it, right? Otherwise, I don't think it can happen. It's a big move to say that, okay, well, Turbine's losing. I mean, we don't necessarily know how many people this involves, but it involves the art team. We know it involves the art team, and it involves the devs. So plus the community service QA people, right? So I mean, you're probably looking at at least 50 people.
At least, yeah.
I don't have a crystal ball that tells me how many people are working on that. Plus the game, the GMs and stuff. I mean, okay, maybe 100 people. I mean, that's a fairly sizable number of people that are leaving the books at Turbine.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the question was asked, are the websites going to change? What about Facebook, Twitter, and other social media sites? We may do some work on DDO.com and LOTRO.com in the future, but the websites and social media URLs will stay the same. We'll be switching out some corporate logos and such in the coming weeks, of course. But if you're subscribed to us on YouTube or liked us on Facebook, for example, there's nothing you'll need to do. But Standing Stone Games does have their own Twitter, and that is up and operational now. And that is at Standing Stone MA. They also have a website that is standingstonegames.com. So they have that, and I'm presuming that Jerry/Cordovan is running those Twitters and stuff as well. I would guess so, because he seems to be the only community person. So.
Do they have another community?
Just add
Tolero's
more. Well, yeah, I'm going to say Tolero
I
kind of
don't really
does
know
some
what she
stuff.
does
So we'll just add
I don't even
more,
know if Tolero
more
is
to
someone
Jerry's
who would
play.
be moving with this.
I would assume since she's e-commerce, I know
Yeah, but I don't know if how high up the echelon her is. How
Well,
many hands does she have her in the pots? Right? Like, is it just?
Well, see, that's true. And I know I saw on the forums today that Steel Star posted that he was excited for this move, so we know Steel Star is still here. And Nobob posted on Twitter about it, so we know he's there. So those are the only two devs that I actually know for sure.
Right. Well,
And
Native Lions posted.
Yeah, just saying, I was about to say, over on LOTRO, I know a couple of their devs and stuff posted as well. So,
I'm just hoping Bark Will makes the transition, because no one rocks a Hawaiian shirt out of that team.
So I looked and I didn't see him post. So, and then another thing, this kind of brings the question up too. If you've noticed on the forums, the dev posts have been little and none here recently. So, is this gonna make them be more free to talk on the forums again? Or
Yeah,
was
I have a
I don't
feeling they
think
were
that's gonna
afraid to
change.
talk.
but then again, was that just because they were busy? Is it because
Well,
they just didn't want to post on the forums because there's a bunch of trolls? Or it's like I said, there's so many questions about this, but it's exciting though. So Patrick, as a veteran DDO player, because you've been playing pretty much since the beginning, correct?
Almost, yeah.
So what is your thoughts and thinking on this?
Well, first I want to go back a little bit, because we talked about are the websites going to change.
Sure.
They didn't really address myaccount.turbine.com.
No, they
which
didn't.
is where at least that's where my subscription is through.
That's a good point, yeah.
But see, they did, though. That is done through the store in game now, though.
Sure, that's one way to do it, but that's not the way that I've done it.
Well, see, I logged in a couple weeks ago, before anybody even, this was not even on the radar and nobody even knew this was happening. I logged in and I couldn't even do anything at my account.turbine because I wanted to make sure that my credit card was updated. Because I got a new card. And I couldn't even do anything on there. I had to do everything through the store in game.
Well, maybe I might have to do that later.
Yeah. So I would assume nothing is going to change on that aspect. But then again, that's more questions that they didn't answer.
Well, there's a look. They made a press release, a fairly standard. Hey, this is what's happening, and this is here's the really basic FAQs, and then
now everybody talk about it.
I don't know, like a couple thousand people looked at it and said, but what about this? What about me? How does this work? I'm confused, right? So you get a lot of that going on. So, as far as a long-term DDO player, I mean, in big picture, I don't know that it really changes much. To be honest, I kind of go around and around. Like, it's okay, cool. Well, maybe we'll have more creativity. Well, I've been there before, and well, I wonder is the game going to keep going? Well, I've been there a few times before too. So, I think it's better for the game, or at least it has more potential to be better for the games, just from the standpoint that, again, you don't have, and I don't use this word to be negative about them, but you don't have WB overlords reaching in and saying and giving direction, right? There's more freedom for Severlin and the devs to do what they want to do.
And I think personally, to me, that's the most exciting part about this whole thing.
And also, they might have more control of their money, I would imagine, and so be able to put more money back into their projects, hopefully.
Yeah, they don't need to send 20% of what they make off to those overlords. Kind of, I don't know. That's a number off the top of my head. I don't know that number has any basis in reality. But you're not, because presumably, Warner Brothers wanted Turbine, so the Turbine gives them money. That's generally how that works, right? So they might have more cash flow they can reinvest into the game. Also gives them, it gives them more control over their resources, but you also have to recognize that means they're going to have less resources.
Right. So. With the expansion, though, and if it does well, then that could actually, end up being a good thing. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
And Gumsgang in the chat is bringing up a good point. He said that some of the devs seemed really excited this far, and that's a good sign.
Yeah,
and I agree. It is. Yeah, that is a very, very good sign to see.
The devs have something to think about other than being fired by Warner.
yeah, that is a good point.
Horrible to say, but it's true. Oh, so true.
They don't have to look over their shoulder every half hour now, so that's good.
Freak out every time somebody has a pink piece of paper near them. It's like, no, go away, get away from my desk. Take your pink paper away.
But it was just party invitations. Calm down, buddy.
Never make pink party invitations.
But yeah, so overall, I think it's an exciting time. It's a good time, but there's also that big, giant question mark that I have with so many, many questions. So
yeah, I think just from the standpoint of from an older player, like I've been around, I went through the period of silence, like 9 months where they didn't really say anything or release anything, and then that went into free to play, and then WB Games came in, which I think is probably the closest analogy you can make. And really, at the end of the day, WB didn't really change the game experience very much, right? Maybe it changed how much money they had to go around and stuff, and some of the money decisions that impacted the game, but it did. I don't really know how much it really changed. So,
and a lot of that we'll never know too, because a lot of the financial stuff we're never going to find out about,
right?
Because and I'm because they're a privately held company, so they don't have to. And it always annoyed me with WB that they lumped all of their video games into one category when they did their year-end numbers, so you could never tell, because all of the properties were like lumped in, like I think they call that home entertainment or entertainment division or whatever.
Right.
So it's like, come on, at least like break these out so it's easier to see like how much your video games are making, versus your movies or whatever. So yeah, so interesting times ahead at least.
I think there's another way of thinking about this, to give a sports analogy for all those people, is let's take the Vikings, right? No one will know how good of a season they would have had if their quarterback hadn't blown out his knee a week and a half before the season started, right? So we're never going to know what the fate of DDO and LOTRO would have been if this change hadn't happened. We're only going to know what the fate is because it did happen. So.
Well, I hope the fate of LOTRO and DDO is better than it was for the Vikings.
One would hope so.
That is really harsh. Ouch.
All right.
Right.
Anyone else have any final comments before we go on?
Did I mention the Oakland Raiders are in the playoffs for the first time in 14 years? Did I make that clear? I just wanted to.
I heard.
Okay.
Well,
Sorry.
I think finally there still is the interesting issue of will Warner Brothers still be making other Lord of the Rings games? Because they do have the Shadow of Mordor series, and that game left kind of on a cliffhanger, so there could be sequels coming in at some point.
And I will assume that's kept by Warner.
Oh, it's definitely kept by Warner because it's a different studio, but the question is, I'm assuming that'll still go forward. So it would be interesting to see, two developers making Lord of the Rings stuff that are, totally different companies now.
Yes, but they're very different styles of games.
That's definitely true, Pineleaf, but it's just
And
interesting.
we know there's more than one company that makes Dungeons and Dragons stuff.
Yeah.
And there's been so for a long time.
Yeah, I know DDO people are used to it, but it's the new for LOTRO. So
You LOTRO people don't know about that stuff.
What about who was making all those other film-based Lord of the Rings games? Because that's been going on for years, right?
right, that was being done by EA, but that was before
all those
Turbine. Yeah,
Okay, all the Turbine. Okay, never mind.
there
I wanna
was
know-
more in the north, I guess, but
Yeah, there was more in the north, and there are. Though it wasn't video. Of course, there were board games and the like, and more than one company was involved with board games and role-playing games related to Lord of the Rings. So why not MMOs?
so,
Or actually, Shadow of Mordor isn't an MMO, so it's a completely different category of a game anyway.
yeah.
I want to know if there's going to be like a contest to figure out what their new motto is going to be. Like Turbine was powered by their fans, right? Which has a nice Turbine kind of ring to it. So Standing Stone Games, what's going to be like? Held up by our fans, or
Standing on our fans.
Yeah.
Crushing our fans with a giant rock, something like that. Yeah.
We still stand when we're stoned,
Burying
I
our
don't know.
fans.
I do like the logo though. It's a nice logo.
Brack Bearfeet in the chat is saying, "We are your rock."
Oh, there you go.
All right, let's head into the rest of our news. And
What? We have other news? What are you talking about?
Yes, apparently, massively OP's most underrated MMO, and DDO is nominated for this for 2016.
Yeah, Massively every year they do their awards where the writers of Massively they have different categories. All the writers pick an MMO to win certain awards. And this year, Final Fantasy got the most underrated MMO according to the writers on Massively. But then they opened it up to the readers of Massively to pick the reader's choice for the category. And I noticed, as I was looking over on Massively, that DDO was up for the most underrated MMO of 2016. And when I made this post and put it up, DDO was in last place with 21 votes at only 2%. And I just checked a little while ago, DDO is now solidly in first place with 21% of the vote and 329 votes. So the DDO community rocks. So if you haven't voted, go vote, because it looks like you can only vote once.
Okay, so
We're a highly motivated fan base. That's really
Yes.
all that says.
Yes,
let's
yes.
see. All right, I will pick DDO instead of Lord of the Rings Online, since I think DDO is a little bit more underrated than LOTRO is.
Was LOTRO on the underrated? I
Yes,
saw
it is
LOTRO in
actually
some of the
on
other
there.
ones.
It was.
Yeah,
Somebody
yeah,
on
it
this
was.
call might have voted for LOTRO, but
Then I'm going to hang up on you.
Snarf, how could you?
Yeah, exactly. Bad snark. But yeah, so just like I said, it looks like you can vote once. I'm guessing it's IP based, so that's why you can only vote once. But if you have a cell phone, you could vote on your cell phone, because that would be a different IP if you're not on your Wi-Fi. Hint, hint. But no, it's just awesome to see how the community rallies around these little fan type votes. Because, let's be honest, it really doesn't mean that much, actually. But I think to the developers, it does mean a lot, because this is a fan-picked thing. So I think that's why it's cool that the community rallies around the stuff. And
But I
votes
thought
for
we
stuff.
just left the fans.
Nice, Pineleaf, nice.
oh man.
Wow, that is harsh, Pineleaf. You were just eating. Pineleaf is like, I'm done with these Turbine things. These fans are gone. I don't care about them anymore.
I gotta figure that like maybe 5% of the people that actually vote on those things actually vote for something based on what it is, as opposed to, ooh, there's the game that I play and enjoy the most. Click.
Right, and of course, and I did see this in the I can't remember if it was the thread over on the DDO forums or this was on the Massively thread for this. People were saying, there was like some titles, well, that game is my favorite game, blah blah blah, and it's like, well, it's not that it's your favorite game, it's the most underrated MMO. Which
can you imagine if someone would like go to either the LOTRO or the DDO forums, and because one of them is like the worst business model. And it's like, hey, we're up for worst business model. And a whole bunch of people went over there and hey, there's my game.
Everybody vote now. Oh, wait. No, don't vote. Oh, yeah. So, yep, go vote. It doesn't, I don't see where there's an end to this. It's usually, I think it goes to like till the end of the year, and then they'll kind of tally everything, and then they'll say what their pick was and what the fan pick was, and see how different they are. But so go vote DDO if you haven't. As Ninth Pond in the chat is saying, Drax's advice is vote early and vote often. I agree.
It would have been interesting though, because one of the other things that they're voting on is like the biggest news of the year. It's a little bit of a shame that
this came out.
Didn't get out before that.
I saw that and I'm like, ooh, that's awkward. Yeah.
All right, let's head to the DDO Chronicle, number 219, and we've got an orc on the cover.
They do like putting orcs on the Chronicle covers here lately. This is I'm trying to think, third or fourth time we've had an orc just in the past couple of weeks, I think, on the Chronicle. In the Fansite News section, DDOCast had their latest episode, which was a debate episode on quest design. And you want to talk about that a little bit, Patrick? Because that was a really good episode. I always like the debate episodes, though, but this one was extremely good, I think.
It was fun. You should go listen to it. No, Bob needs to go listen to that.
Yes, he does. So, no, Bob, if you're listening, which I think I know you do, because I think I've seen you say you listened to the show. Listen.
He was listening to the Damsels when I was on it this weekend, and he mentioned that in the chat. He needs to go listen to it. So that's why I called him for it.
So what do you got coming up for DDOcast? Anything?
There'll be one more show, probably next Monday at a time that does not compete with DDO Players News, if we can schedule it. But it's going to be the kind of year in review show, which is kind of what I usually do around this time of year. Obviously, we'll cover the news and stuff, but we'll pretty much have as many people on as we can and just kind of go through the year and kind of give our opinions on how it went.
Elsewhere in our chronicle, the Order of the Silver Dragon continues to bring the story to videos, so click over for Chapter 2. And if you're not watching these videos yet, they're doing an excellent job of bringing the whole DDO overall arcing story together in a nice little packaged video, so check that out. They're doing a good job with that. Even Note gets lost and found out in the desert, so click over and read her new blog post. And DDO Gamer is giving a shout out to the Great Crafting Planner, so click over and see what Jeff had to say about the Crafting Planner. And that is pretty much it for our chronicle this week.
Oh, what about the question of the week?
Oh, that's right. I completely forgot. See, I'm all like perplexed this week because of this news. It's got me all thrown off. Our chronicle comment of the week. Since there are so many monsters in the world, along with the known planes, would people actually freak out if they saw a space alien in Eberron?
I have a question. Would they even know that it's a space alien?
True, because we have the weird Zoriat creatures, so...
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's like they're seeing just about everything else, and they'll just assume it's from another plane they hadn't seen before.
So you're saying you don't like the Chronicle question this week, Pineleaf? Is what you need to say in a nice way? I'm
saying that they'll just say, "Okay, hello. Are you friendly or
are you going to kill me like everybody else tries?"
Yes. Right.
How about you, Patrick? You got an answer for that? That was a strange question, but I do not. I've said this before. I don't envy Jerry for having to come up with a question every week, because I can imagine how hard it is to come up with these silly questions he has to put in the Chronicle every week.
Yeah, no, I would say that yes, they're going to freak out, because they freak out if kobolds show up in Stormreach, and that happens all the time. So pretty much if anything shows up that's not like your standard humanoid, then yeah, they're going to freak out.
Okay, I guess you get a point with that.
Oh yeah, but
It depends on whether it's the seasoned people or the or the coin lords. The coin lords freak out about anything that could hurt their economy.
And then we also have our official screenshot of the week, which is Bulkhead the Barbarian. What a name for a barbarian. Argues with the Kobold First Mate in the 299th DDO screenshot of the week.
That means next week is 300.
Actually, it won't be next week because there's no Chronicle next week. So
there's no Chronicle.
2 weeks.
It's taking off the Christmas
It is
holiday.
taking the Christmas holiday off, so no Chronicle next week.
What lousy timing.
Yeah, exactly.
There's so much news.
Exactly.
Wait, but you got to remember isn't it, because wouldn't the Chronicle be this week, be the next one that will be showing up?
Yes, but Cordovan is taking some time off, so.
Okay. Very well.
So no Chronicle. So all you Chronicle lovers, you'll have to wait 1 week for issue 220 and the 300 screenshot of the week, which Pine Leaf can't wait to see what gets the coveted 300 screenshot.
Yeah, we've got to see what gets. Probably someone scoring a 12th strike in a bowling game.
Wow.
I'm trying to think if you can find something that looks vaguely like the Standing Stones game logo in game.
Ooh.
Maybe
There's
in
the
the Micron
challenge.
Desert.
Yeah, you could. Ooh, yeah, you probably could.
I feel like the desert's probably your best bet for that.
That would be your best bet if you could frame it right. I bet you could get a good screenshot. So there's your challenge, everybody.
Find the Standing Stones for the 300 screenshot. All right, now let's head off into the store sales.
We have 20% off select classes, Supreme Tomes, Supreme Ability Potions, Alignment Changes, Potions of Physical Resistance, and Potions of Magical Resistance, all at 20% off this week.
Only select classes?
Select classes.
Well,
Let's
most
not
of them
get
are free,
crazy.
though.
And to be honest, I didn't even look to see which ones they were this time.
I would assume not Warlock or Druid.
Probably not, because the Druid, speaking of that Druid class, is part of the December deals, which is 75% off this week through the 22nd. So if you do not yet own the Druid class, I would say now is the time to jump on that, because 75% off is a good deal. Also 35% off the Greater Treasure Hunter Elixirs, 50% off the Trials of the Archons, and also you can get Universal Challenge tokens at 50% off in the store as well as part of the December deals. The freebie of the week is an acid green hair dye, 1 hair dye, when you use the coupon code GREENUP, GREENUP. Once again, 1 per account. Choose your server wisely.
Be more impressed if I could turn my wolf's hair green.
I know. I'm saying we need wolf dyes. Hashtag wolf dyes, everybody. Let's make it happen.
Okay.
Oh, come on, finally. How awesome would it be to have multicolored wolves? My wolf lock needs to be red. This has to be a thing.
Red Wolf.
It has to happen.
Let's see what's coming in from the dungeon.
Finally, it's like, right.
And apparently this next one goes right with Red Wolves. Call of Cthulhu, the official video game new screens.
Yeah, they have released several new screens for the Call of Cthulhu video game, which, of course, is based off of the Chaosium role-playing game. If you are not familiar with this game, you need to look at these screenshots because they look amazing. In the game, you are playing Edward Pierce, who is a war veteran turned private detective. And, of course, you're in Boston in the 1920s. You have been hired to investigate an isolated island of Darkwater. See, right there, I can see the flaw in the logic of you investigating this island, but that's neither here nor there. The unusual and tragic death of Sarah Hawkins and her family. Soon, your investigation will lead you to the fringes of the paranormal, where reality and illusion begins to blend. Is this really the fruit of your imagination? So yes, Cthulhu mythos abounds, and you will go crazy. If you're familiar with the Chaosium RPG, from what they have said about this game, it is going to play as faithful to the RPG as you can. So expect it to be really spooky, really creepy, and you will go insane in just a matter of moments because you're going to see some stuff that no human should ever see because it's Cthulhu.
Right.
This is set to come out middle of next year, and we will continue to keep you updated on the progress. But that is the Call of Cthulhu, the official video game. But definitely go to DDO Players and check those screenshots out because they look pretty amazing.
Oh, and Stirring Dragon Games has announced Unknown Realm, Siege Perilous, which is now on Kickstarter.
Okay, and this is the coolest thing that I have seen in, I think, the past maybe year and a half.
What?
Did you ever play any of the Ultima games, Pineleaf? Or anybody on the call, actually, not just Pineleaf.
I did a little bit in Ultima 3.
Okay. Really? You've never played in the Ultimas?
Nope.
Oh, Patrick, I'm disappointed in you. Do you happen to have your Commodore 64, your beloved Commodore 64, still sitting around?
My what now?
You're making me feel old, Patrick.
Okay. Well, I played Ultima, I believe, on a PC system, not on a Commodore.
See, you don't even know, Pineleaf. You got to play it old school, my friend. You played on the Commodore 64. What Unknown Realm, the Siege Perilous is, it's a throwback to the classic video games on the Commodore 64. So we're talking the Ultima games. We're talking the Gold Box series of video games. But the cool thing about this is they are making it's a 8-bit RPG.
8-bit.
8-bit RPG, so it's going to play just like the classic 8-bit RPGs. They are making it for, of course, the modern computers, and they're going to make it a way to where it's going to feel like you're playing it back on the old 8-bit days where some of us on this call got our start playing video games.
Okay, but it looks like it is also going to be available for the Commodore 64, just in case you have somebody who is...
It is. That is the coolest. And I'm so excited because my 64 may or may not still be hooked up, and I still may or may not play Wasteland on my 64. So this is exciting. Yes, as part of the Kickstarter, you can pledge in and get this game in a Ziploc bag, like games used to come for the Commodore 64, with keyboard overlays and everything on a cartridge. And most people are like, what's a cartridge? Yeah, games used to come on cartridges, people.
Oh, I remember when they came in cassette tapes.
Wow, you are old school, Pineleaf. So this is, it's kind of aimed at people that played the 8-bit fantasy games on the Commodore 64 and want to feel that old school feeling again. They're going right for the feels on this. And the Kickstarter is doing fairly well. It's just kicked off, actually. They have 30 days to go. They are at 44,598 of their 65,000 goals. So you too can feel the feels and get in on this Kickstarter. And there is a video that I put up on the post that you can watch and kind of see it. But this plays so much like Ultima. It's like scary. It reminds me of Ultima so much. And, I mean, who doesn't want to play a game on their Commodore 64? I mean, seriously, come on. That's just awesome.
Well, I never had a Commodore 64, so...
I am disappointed in you, Pineleaf. You are dead to me yet again, sir. That is the third time you are dead to me, sir.
Why would I... Anyway, I went straight from the TRS-80 up to the PC land.
Well, at least you did have a TRS-80. I will give you that.
All right, so let's then head into what's on the tabletop, and we'll begin with Mayfair's Game, who has announced their new titles.
There is 3 new games coming from Mayfair Games. Portal of Heroes is the first one. This is a set collecting and trading card game. It will be out early.
Trading card game?
Yes, I don't know how they're doing a set collection and trading card game both, but we'll see how it turns out. It's for 2 to 5 players, ages 10 and up. Plays in 45 minutes. Has an MSRP of only $18. So that is a pretty low price point. The graphics.
But that's the starter set, right?
No, that's actually the base game. It's all in one.
Oh, I thought you
you
said trading card game. I assumed
know
that.
I don't understand how they're doing this because they're saying all you need is the base game to play, but yet they're calling it a trading card game, which does not make sense to me. So I am confused on the press release they sent for this. But the box is going to contain 56 Pearl cards, 54 character cards, 5 player portals, and your rulebook for 2 to 5 players ages 10 and up at $18. Release is planned for early January. But how they're going to do that as a trading card game, I don't know. And then we have Saboteur The Duel, which is two dwarves that are basically fighting over a piece of land and some gold. We'll just boil it down to that. The two dwarves must decide if they will build their tunnel together or separately, and in both cases, the players will have to try to sabotage their opponent at the exact right time, maybe with a broken pickaxe, maybe a rock slide, or a locked door. The player who collects the most gold nuggets after 3 rounds wins. This is another low price point, $15. The game is for 1 to 2 players, and they say ages 8 and up. This is also going to be available from Mayfair in January. And then also coming is an expansion to AGRICOLA, which is a 5 to 6 player expansion, which will add 4 stables, 5 people, 5 white sheep, 3 bound cattle, 10 wood, and 2 large farmyard boards. So if
and a
you
partridge in a pear tree.
Yeah, exactly. So if you want to add more players to your AGRICOLA game, your expansion is coming. This is actually going to release in just a few days. So look for that at your friendly local game store soon.
Now, I find this one a little because you figure that an expansion for 5 to 6 players for AGRICOLA would have come out a few years earlier.
Yeah, I'm
if
not
it
sure.
Was going to come out.
Not sure why they waited so long to have an expansion for this, but I know I've never actually played AGRICOLA, but I know a lot of people play it and love it. So I don't know.
Well, it seems I get the impression that it's a game that people either love or hate, because there's some who say no, AGRICOLA is dead to me. I play Caverna instead, or something like that.
Right, and that's
apparently Convert. Yeah.
So
similar style game, and their feelings.
And I think they came out about the same time too. So, but those are the 3 new titles coming from Mayfair Games.
And we also have the Howling comic and board game rights acquired by Space Goat.
I love it because you always say Space Goat. You can't get over the name of the company as Space Goat, can you? Yes.
Well, it is.
It's a interesting name for a production company. I will give you that. But
Space Goats stand on standing stones? That's the real question.
It is. Space Goat Productions, in partnership with Studio Canal and Creative Licensing, did announce that they are producing a 4-issue comic book miniseries and a board game based on the wonderful, awesome, amazing 1981 Joe Dante classic movie, The Howling. Which, let's just be honest and add this to a list right now of a movie Pine Leaf has never seen, nor never will see. So we won't even have to talk.
How did you know that?
I just went out on a limb and figured, he's never seen this. Yes, this is going to take place right after in the Howling movie. And if you're not familiar with what the Howling movie is, shame on you. The movie is based on a reporter has to go to a colony, and she discovers that the camp colony she goes to is taken over by werewolves, and all sorts of gory hilarity ensues.
I could imagine.
So yes, The Howling is an awesome movie. So, and if you remember, Space Goat seems to be on a roll lately. They've been doing a lot of games. They're doing the Terminator game. So they are, and they're also doing the Evil Dead game as well. So they're going for the 80s classic cult type movies. They're getting the license for them, and they're making board games on them. So this is coming out next year at some point. They didn't really say much about the board game. The comic books will be out early next year, and then the board game soon to follow. And I'm assuming the board game will be on Kickstarter first, because the Evil Dead and the Terminator game were both on Kickstarter. So I'm assuming Space Goat will do the same with this. So if you love The Howling, your comic book and board game coming soon, I guess.
All right. Then it's time for us to see what we did in our week in gaming. And Drac, what have you been up to?
I actually did quite a bit in game this week.
Ooh.
My level 15 rogue is the one I'm running with my friend who is running a wizard. We're level 15, and we were trying to decide what we're going to do. And I said, there is a quest chain that we can do that is an awesome quest chain, and I'm trying to get 2 things out of there, so let's run that. So we ran the Harbinger of Madness quest chain.
All right.
I love that quest chain, by the way. That is one of my favorite quest chains in the game. So, of course, we did the Missing Sinister Storage Fair Factory in the flesh, and I was hoping to get either the longbow or the quiver as my end reward.
Right.
But of course, we all know how the RNG is to me, and I was denied again. But I did pick up the Thorak plate bracelet out of there, which I've never had that before, so that will be interesting. So then I decided, I'm like, you know what? I just want to see what happens. So I took my level 16 ranger that I have,
All right.
and I ran through Harbinger of Madness with that ranger, but I actually did get the bow as one of my end reward I can pick. So I do have the bow now, so I'm going to give that to my other ranger, the one that I'm running with Mithri and Savage and Rent in that static group. I'm going to pass the bow over to that. So I was surprised I actually got it. I'd still like to get the quiver out of there, so I might run that again because I like that quiver. And then, of course, I played with you, which I will let you talk about that. That was all for DDO. In video games, I was still kind of sick most of the week last week, so I decided, you know what, I'm just going to play some mindless video games here for a while, nothing too much. And I was looking at my Steam list, and I saw Sword Coast Legends. And I thought, you know what, I haven't played that in for ever. I need to start playing that again. So I played it, and I played it, and I played it, and I didn't stop playing that. I played that so much this week. It was insane how much I played that. I made it all the way through the main story. I'm at the end part to where I'm assuming if I start that, I can't get back because you have to jump through a portal. So I'm assuming I can't get back, so I stopped the main story at that point, and I'm going back through now and doing a bunch of the side quest and the companion quest to clear those out before I do the main story. And then after I do the main story, I'm going to start on the Rage of Demons storyline.
Okay.
That they have in there. I have a lot of issues with the game itself. I do like the writing. They have really good writing, but they made some really weird gameplay decisions and stuff for the game. It's an all right game. It's okay. It kind of saddens me that N-Space went out of business, so the game's really not being developed anymore. So I guess the game is what it is. It's fun. I like it. It's got a really good story. So if you like good D&D dungeon crawls and you like good story, I would say look to see. I don't even know at this point it'll ever go on sale since N-Space is out of business. But Digital Extremes is the publisher, so they might maybe put it on a Steam sale or something. So I would say if you could get it cheap, pick it up just for the dungeon crawl aspect. And the story-wise, it is really good. I would like to find somebody that has it, actually, because I'd like to experiment with the Dungeon Master mode to where you can create either a dungeon on the fly or actually spend time and create a dungeon, and then you have a party run through the dungeon, and you play the Dungeon Master and throw monsters at them. So I would like to experiment with that and see how well that plays. But that's for another day, I guess. And then the only other thing I played is Super Dungeon Tactics, which I talked about last week. I'm playing that for review, actually. So I'm going to give that a couple more playthroughs and then look for the review probably within the next few weeks over on DDO Players. So how about you, Pineleaf? What were you up to this week?
All right. We will begin with my level 14 Warlock that I am playing with Drac. And first we did Gnome Work, the Memoirs of an Illusionary Larcenist, which, if I recall, went a lot better than it did last time.
It did. I seem to remember the first time we did that, it bugged out a lot on us, and it was a lot harder. Because that quest didn't it was too hard this time. So I don't know if maybe they went through and fixed some of the bugs that were in it, or I don't know what happened, but it was way easier this time than I know last time we got very frustrated with it.
Well,
they did fix a lot of the stuff in that.
The hirelings were really stupid in the original version.
I like
still
that
have
quest.
problems, I think.
Yeah, they do. They did. They kind of went brain dead a couple times, and they did some stupid stuff. But overall, I like that quest, though. That's not my favorite one out of that quest chain, but I do like that quest a lot, though.
Yes, it's a little bit of a let's see, a parody of some quests, of course.
Yeah, and that's partly why I think I like it a lot.
All right, and then after that, we went into Giant Hole, where we did Feast and Famine, a Cabal of 1, and I reached level 15, though I think Drac still has a little way to go.
Yeah, I think I'm like on my 4th bubble, maybe. So yeah.
Right.
So probably Wednesday. I think I'll probably hit 15.
Yeah, right. Then on my level 7 warlock, my another gnome warlock. Since that's when I'm playing this month, I went back into Temple of Elemental Evil Part 1 because remember last time I did not pick up the club and I lost the boss fight. So this time I made sure that I did grab the club and I managed to get that boss down pretty quickly. I think the boss fight went a little bit more smoothly even than usual, so that was pretty good. Now in LOTRO, I usually don't talk about LOTRO when I go through what I did last week, but this week I hit a bit of a milestone where my main warden completed the last of the skirmish lieutenant deeds, and that's a major milestone because there are 42 skirmish lieutenant deeds, and you've got to kill 55 of these each, and some of them, those lieutenants, are very hard to get. So therefore, I finally, after all these years, managed to get the last of them done.
Explain to everybody real quick, like I know because there might be some people that have never played LOTRO, what exactly a skirmish is.
All right. The closest equivalent I could think of to a skirmish, though it's not exactly the same, are challenges in that these are set instances that are scalable in that you can play them at any level you choose, except that skirmishes, they have a minimum level, and they go from the minimum level all the way up to cap. And they have versions for each of them for 1 player, 2 players, 3 players, 6 players, and 12 players. And you come along with a hireling that's known as a skirmish soldier. Now, you don't purchase these or anything like this. Well, you do train them over time and stuff like that with the marks that you earn during skirmishes. And so you have your soldier. Your soldier is an integral part of these. So the skirmishes are all built around you coming in with these soldiers with you. So therefore, at some lower levels, they can be a little bit dodgy to fight in them, but these days the power curve of player characters at the cap are so over and above that of NPCs that they've gotten a little bit easy at the top end. And so therefore, essentially, there are specialized instances with those particular... And the mobs that you face during the course of the skirmish are randomized, including... You have these random lieutenants that will sometimes appear along with the groups that you're fighting. And the deed that I was trying to complete then had to do with getting all the lieutenants. Now, some of those lieutenants will only appear in larger group sizes, which is why some of the lieutenants are very, very hard to get. Now, the other thing I did in LOTRO that I want to speak about is, of course, is right after today's update that they had to the game, I went in to see the branding changes.
And what exactly are those?
Well, not much. You just have the Turbine coin for the Turbine points is replaced by a Standing Stone coin instead. And that you have the Standing Stone logo at the beginning instead of that by Warner Brothers and Turbine, which used to be at the beginning when you were logging in. So those are the 2 main things that I noticed. There are 1 or 2 things, such as some of the branding at the store is still old, but I think that might be controlled by another entity or something like that because they do have a partner that handles some of the store business. So yeah, 1 or 2 things missed, but I'm sure they'll pick them up in the next few weeks. So let's head into board games, where I played Game 3 for the Harry Potter Hogwarts battle, and this is where I feel like the game starts feeling like it's getting a little bit on the longer side, because I say, okay, I've got this in the bag, I know I'm going to win this, and I'm only halfway through the villain list. Yeah, so I have, but the Baseball Rado's review on the thing, he says he got that impression also. So it sounds like, yeah, it could get a bit long with some of the longer ones. So you have to be prepared for a long haul if you're going to play that game.
Yeah, and from what I read too, it progressively gets harder as you go on.
Yeah, I hear some people getting... when you get to the higher level ones, that's when they start. Because Game 3 is the recommended starting point if you're familiar with deck builders. So therefore, yeah, that one's still a little bit easy. I suspect it's going to start getting tougher as you get into 4 and 5. And yeah, I'm hearing some people are having a lot of trouble with 5, and then 6 and 7 can get even tougher. We'll see if I ever get around to those. I also played another session of One Deck Dungeon, and this time I was running with the fighter. and I managed to. And they also just released mode settings for it, so that you say you make these adjustments for easy, this way for medium, and this for hard. So I decided to try it on easy mode, considering how quickly I got squashed last time, and I managed to make it all the way up to the boss fight, and then the boss squashed me like a pancake.
As bosses are often wont to do.
Yes, they are. Then I played a new game that I just got, Orleans, and
Sounds very fancy, finally.
yeah, so I played Orleans, and this is a game that's been out for about I guess a couple of years. And the reason why I had not gotten it until now was because if you want to play solo, you really need the expansion. And this is the first time that the expansion and the base game have both been available at the same time in print. So I got about this, that I played the first of the solo scenarios, which is listed as one of the easier ones, and I managed to squeak through a win on that one. So, and I had a fun time playing that one. It's an interesting twist, but it is a worker placement style game that's I guess you call it a resource builder, because you're not building a deck. Instead, what you're building are the workers, these discs that represent the workers. And so you buy them, and you have a bag in which you pull your workers out of the bag, and hopefully you get the ones that you most need at the moment. And then I got back to Arkham Horror, the card game, and I completed the base game's campaign, or at least my first attempt at it. And, well, you know what happens in final scenarios to Arkham-style games.
Usually madness happens most of the time.
Yeah, that is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Madness. Yeah, so I went mad, and I was, just about, and I thought things would be, at first, looked like they might be in control, and then whack! Boy, those monsters really get to you. And so let's head it off to Andang. What were you up to?
Yes, well, I graduated this last week.
Ta-da!
Which is awesome, from college. And so that was surreal, and I still can't exactly believe it. Not because I didn't expect that it was going to happen, but just that, it's been school's been such a part of my and everybody else's life, obviously, for that entire period that they go to school. And it's just crazy to be done with that now, and just very surreal, and it hasn't really sunk in yet. Also,
that means you're not going to graduate school.
No, Pineleaf. No. Staying away from that. I definitely could do it if I wanted to, but it's just not something that I feel like I want to do. So.
Yeah, understood.
And also, I'm pretty much still in the same spot I was last time in DDO, so that's great.
Still hanging out in the harbor, huh?
Yeah, it's nice there. Weather's stayed about the same.
Wave to a couple of kobolds.
Yeah.
Kind of a dirty swimming pool, though.
Well, yes, that's true. Yeah, there's probably better places in the game, but just enjoying it here for now. And it's not so much that I didn't enjoy DDO. I absolutely loved playing through it. It's just that I haven't had time with LOTRO and college and all that stuff. So maybe with the job I will hopefully be getting at some point, that I'll have more time for doing stuff like DDO. That'd be cool. So anyway, enough about me. Patrick, what have you been up to?
I spent a lot of time in the Kingdom of the Sweets, so I didn't play a lot of DDO this week. But I did a little bit of leveling, a couple of gibberish runs, I'm kind of in a farming mode, doing like some runs for some gibbers, run for some demonic baubles, and a couple spies runs for XP, and kind of rinse and repeat. So,
did you get a gibbers blade?
I have gotten 2 since I started farming about a month and a half ago.
Nice.
And it's not like I'm hitting it every day. It's maybe like every other day on average-ish. So probably less than that even. Yeah, I've gotten 2 gibbers blades and a bauble. So.
All right. Do you have anything you want to plug?
You can catch me on DDOCast usually every week. The holidays are kind of weird, and it's even more weird right now because the holidays are on the weekend. So
that does throw everything off.
It really does, because I'm want people to not, try and get people on. And I've got family stuff that I want to be doing on the holidays. So there will be one more show this week or this year, probably next Monday. I was talking before to kind of review the year. It's something I've been doing the last couple of years. But you can find us at DDOCast.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at DDOCast if you want to find out when the cast is going to be and all those kind of. And I retweet a lot of stuff, both from players news and just DDO in general, blogs. Pretty much anyone if I find your tweet and it's DDO related, I'll probably retweet it. So.
All right, Andang, do you have anything you wish to plug?
Yes, well, there is the sister site to DDO, which is LOTRO Players. And, of course, you can find that at LOTROplayers.com. And we do, podcasts every week and cover LOTRO, all that. And if you want to hear more Turbine speculation discussion about Standing Stone games type stuff, then we will be doing that on Friday of this week. So that is something that you might be interested in. And you can check at LOTRO Players on Twitter to find out all the times and stuff like that. And also you can follow me personally at AndangLP on Twitter or subscribe to my YouTube channel, AndangLP.
Very well. We currently have 25 supporters on Patreon. And if you'd like to help support DDO Players, simply go to the donations page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you'll find rewards, including a mention on the podcast of your choice, or even be a guest with us for an episode of DDO Players News. And this week we do have a featured comment from Laura on Stirring Dragon Games announces Unknown Realms. Siege Perilous Kickstarter. Wow, you guys! Thank you so much for this post. We're really happy you're getting the feels from our feelies. Thank you for the support.
Pineleaf said feelies.
Well, that's what it says in the note.
Well, that's what Laura said, so yes.
All right.
So what we found out is we need to start having a script for Pineleaf, so it'll say funny stuff. That's what we found out here.
That's right. That is what we discovered in this long show this evening.
Yeah, Pineleaf, Jack sent us another comment this week. What are the odds? Just go ahead and read it.
We also have a comment from Jerry Snook. And Drac, what did he say?
And of course, Jerry Snook is also known as Cordovan. If you did not know, he left a comment on the fact post that I put up for what exactly the Standing Stone game means. And he says, oops, I forgot one in the fact. Question, is everyone still obsessed with bacon over there? And what's up with the oatmeal raisin cookie hate? And the answer is yes, except it's not an obsession. You can't be obsessed with life's necessities, like breathing air, drinking water, or eating bacon. And we don't hate oatmeal raisin cookies, but we do officially believe that they are often too misleading. There are a few things more devastating than believing you're going to eat a nice chocolate chip cookie only to discover that that chocolate is in fact a raisin.
I think I prefer the raisins.
I prefer the bacon.
Bacon.
If you want to contact us, you can send an email at podcast@ddoplayers.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, the Players Alliance at Players Ally, DDO Players at DDO Players, Draculetta at Draculetta_72, and Pineleaf at Pineleaf Needles. You could also follow our guests, Andang at AndangLP, and Patrick at DDOcast. The Players Alliance has 4 live shows. Every Monday at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have DDO Players News. Every Thursday at 9 p.m.-ish U.S. Eastern Time, we have XP Quest. Generally on Saturdays, but on this week's at Friday at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have LOTRO Players News. And on the last Friday of each month at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have LOTRO Academy After School, but please note it is currently on hiatus during the month of December and will be returning in January. You can join us for our live shows at ddoplayers.com/live. And also be sure to join us for next Monday for our End in Review show, where our special guests will be Saba Jade and Mithri from the Damsels of DDO.
And good what could go wrong with that?
Good luck, Pineleaf.
You want a list? That is all for tonight. And this is Pineleaf Needles reminding you to quest responsibly.